What happens if you take Ulysses Everett McGill and turn him into a fast-talking woman from Texas, who also happens to be a lesbian, and instead of Homer for the inspiration, the story draws from Henry James's works? Well, you get Drive-Away Dolls. It's another solo directing venture from one half of the Coen brothers, Ethan. So should you hop on this raunchy road trip? Jamie regrets her breakup with her girlfriend, while Marian needs to relax. In search of a fresh start, the two embark on an impromptu road trip to Tallahassee, but things quickly go awry when they cross paths with a group of inept criminals. So this stars Margaret Qualley, Geraldine Viswanathan, Beanie Feldstein, Joey Slotnick, C.J. Wilson, Colman Domingo, Bill Camp, Matt Damon, and Pedro Pascal. And while most of them have a good amount of screen time, Damon and Pascal, they're just basically cameos. Qualley is Jamie, a free-spirited and very opinionated young woman who, after breaking up with her girlfriend, played by Feldstein, decides to join Viswanathan's Marian on a drive to Florida. Now, they rent a car that has this Pulp Fiction-esque briefcase hidden in it, and then they begin to be pursued by thugs, not knowing that they've got the case or that they're being chased. Now, very, very quickly in the movie, Jamie felt exactly like George Clooney's Everett from Oh Brother, spouting all sorts of semi-wisdoms at breakneck speed without barely ever taking a breath. She's got a thick twang, and while she can be endearing at times, she also becomes very grating in a hurry. Viswanathan is Marian, and she is the polar opposite when it comes to reservedness, making them an odd couple that we have seen many times before. That's not necessarily a bad thing either. Marian is smart and sympathetic, constantly being pushed by Jamie to step outside of what Jamie perceives to be the comfort zone. I mean, there's a small sense of bullying there, but I don't think it's mean-spirited. It's just one person who's overly exuberant and then is pushy when it comes to their friend. Now, I really like Viswanathan's portrayal. She creates a character who is deep within her shell, content-ish with her circumstances, not wanting to veer from her determined path. But the conflict that we are shown through small mannerisms, I thought they were wonderful. We can get inside Marian's head through her expressiveness, not needing to rely on the overtly simplified dialogue to spoon-feed us her thoughts. Now, Jamie's kind of clueless in this. She's certainly a selfish character throughout most of the story, slowly becoming more endearing as the narrative nears its conclusion. Now, this disregard for her friends' wishes, it gets tiring pretty quickly, which is a shame because she is 50% of the protagonists who we are supposed to be rooting for. Now, almost every character is also unfortunately one-dimensional. What you see is what you get, and that doesn't mean the performances are bad either. I mean, some, they're wonderful. Like Pedro Pascal. He fully understood the assignment and then went for it with abandon. And the same goes for Bill Camp. He is dryly hilarious and plays his character perfectly. And then, of course, both Qualley and Viswanathan, they fully lean into their personas and create convincing characters. Now, the issue is that very few of them have any dynamic personalities or qualities. I mean, Jamie's loud and horny. Marian is quiet and withdrawn. Even Feldstein is simply just the angry cop ex-girlfriend. Slotnick and Wilson, they're kind of like Jamie and Marian. I mean, one is quiet, one never stops talking, but they're also just generic bad guys. They're the dudes who are sent to retrieve the case. And outside of that, we know nothing about them, even though we do get a lot of screen time with them. Now, I just wanted more depth to all of our players. This would make them richer in detail and then easier to connect with. I am grateful, though, that we do see a little bit of growth on both Jamie and Marian's parts by the conclusion. There are even some sweet moments through that, too, but there's still not a lot of change that's displayed. Now, I was super excited because from the trailer, this looked like it would be a comedy crime caper. And it is. Sort of. There are funny, or at least humorous moments. And a couple of times I did laugh out loud. But mainly, I alternated between slightly amused and defeated. The longer it went on, the more I felt defeated. And the crazy thing is, too, that this isn't even 90 minutes long. It's only 84 minutes. But because of some intensely unnecessary psychedelic vignettes that are inserted between story parts, the movie, it really could be about 75 minutes, maybe even less. And I'll get back to those psychedelic parts in just a second, but the humor in this, it's very uneven. When there are natural moments when a character is sincerely goofy or sarcastic, that's when the funny comes. Most times, though, we have dialogue that's forcing the joke on us, basically just like grabbing us by the collar and shaking us while yelling, "Laugh, damn it!" I mean, it's so forced at times that it's cringy, and then it's sad. And I'm all for the quirky and sometimes dark humor that the Coens are known for. It's just not present here. And I think it doesn't help that a lot of the setups for comedy, they were shown in the trailer. and even then they weren't hilarious. Now, going back to the transitions between scenes, there are 3, maybe 4 psychedelic hippie-ish vignettes with 60s or 70s type instrumentals, and then lava lamp-like multicolored blobs floating around and obscured silhouettes dancing through them. Now, these would fit better in an episode of The Partridge Family or that 70s show. I mean, either of them than with a healthy helping of LSD. And I'm not knocking the style of these, or even the way that they look, but they're so long and then they're out of context. They add nothing to the story, except maybe to loosely tie in a very short sequence that explains the entire plot twist. I mean, seriously, these didn't need to be in there. Even keeping that explanation, it can just stand on its own. And then this feels like the whole movie is attempting to have a satirical take, or at least some social commentary on conservatism, which could be scathing and then hilarious. Here, though, it's all delivered by Captain Obvious without any nuance or subtlety. Even within that, any messaging that's coming across, it's thin and generic, delivered by a bull inside of a china shop. Now, if you don't like raunchy movies or stories that are centered around sex, you're going to want to steer clear of this one. I mean, starting with the opening scene, there is a fairly intense sex scene that's drawn out, and it's played for humor, even though it doesn't end up being funny. And I don't even mind the crude comedy, I just wanted it to be smarter and wittier. Instead, it's just a bunch of desperate horniness that makes the characters cringy. Now, this had potential, especially with the talent that was in front of and behind the camera. The entire cast shines in their characterizations, especially with Geraldine Viswanathan and Bill Camp, but they're all let down by poor story development and one-dimensional personalities. And the story, it was lackluster, trying hopelessly to make us care for flat characters through contrived situations while removing any sense of nuance or originality. From obvious setups to oblivious moments where it was clear the script believed it was smarter and more clever than it was, this is a buddy road trip comedy that got the buddies and hit the road, but squandered the comedic execution. There's a lot of sex, some nudity, ton of profanity, and a lot of violence. I give Drive-Away Dolls 2.5 out of 5 couches. So are there any crime capers that you love to watch? I mean, for me, obviously, there's the masterpiece Heat, but one that I love that doesn't get as much attention is David Mamet's Heist. But let me know what you like to watch in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.